Well, the concept of Cheryl's Dreaming Big is to really shed light on mental illness through theater. That's the mission, that's the goal, that's why we do what we do. And behind that is, okay, so why are we shedding light? Well, we're shedding light to generate awareness, because in my experience, there just is not a lot of awareness about what mental illness is. Now, there's a lot more than there used to be, but there's still a lot of misconceptions about what people actually think it is and what it is.
I feel that those of us with OCD face a particularly staggering challenge.
Are these things that a normal person would do?
Over the last decade, I've experienced varying degrees of depression.
I've learned about a lot of disorders that I didn't realize were considered under the umbrella of mental illness.
You see the symptoms and they're often portrayed in a funny manner.
It is a brain disorder. It's not because you're living your life badly. It's not because you're doing something wrong.
If you have these internal problems, you're going to want to get out of yourself as much as you can.
There isn't a quick fix. There isn't it's not just you find the right meds and it's over.
Mental illness is closer than you think. If statistics are correct and 1 in 4 people will live with it, that means in any group of friends, someone is struggling.
My life has gone from surviving to thriving.
I was starting to enjoy being alive again.
There have been setbacks, but I feel I am making progress. I believe that I am a good person, and I'm here for a purpose.
People with mental illness can dream big dreams, and that they can accomplish big dreams. I think one of the reasons why I started the organization is because people have extraordinarily limiting beliefs about people with mental illness. Jane Pauley has a mental illness, and she is an amazing broadcaster. Mike Wallace, also an amazing broadcaster. Abraham Lincoln was President of the United States. So these are people who have accomplished tremendous things and also lived with these disorders. Our target audience is anyone who would not typically access mental health services. And so that goes across the board. So we do go to high schools, but we also go to colleges, we go to places of worship, we go to community organizations and nonprofits, and we're just trying to get into hospitals and corporations as well. I think one of the huge reasons why we go into high schools and colleges is because research is actually showing that 50% of all cases of mental illness, those episodes begin by the age of 14. And then 75% have occurred by the age of 24. So high school and college age students are the most vulnerable population. That's when those episodes are happening. Research also shows that the education up to that point has been minimal. They're not getting it in their high schools, they're not getting it from their parents, they're not getting it from their clergy, and so they desperately need it because they're not getting it anywhere else. I love theater. I was a theater major in college, and actually when I was in college, I was part of a social issue-based ensemble that used theater to address things like rape and things like disability issues and racism and homophobia on campus, and I saw how it impacted people in the college-age situations.
Theater is great because, first and foremost, it's entertainment. So people don't feel they're being lectured to, they feel they're watching a show.
Our job as actors is to let emotions sort of play us. What Cheryl's Dreaming Big does is it presents it in a way that allows an audience to actually enjoy learning about the topic and entertains them. What theater does is it just gives everyone a chance to talk about it in a safe way that isn't directly personal but will affect them personally.
Watching the reactions of audience members and how much they get from it, and little lights here and there that turn on and little common things that they see from the pieces, it's improving people's lives.
Well, this is actually my first opportunity to hear about your program, so this is a great way to get more exposure to this issue.
I don't really know anyone with mental illness that I know of. I don't know. I think white walls, psych wards.
I expect to learn something tonight. I expect to maybe get a point of view that I wasn't really aware of before.
I think mental illness is extremely complicated, and there are all kinds of varieties of it.
I was arrested once.
Megan totally flips out.
I am so sorry, but I just had to indulge in that little disco fantasy there. Because it's my favorite song in the whole wide world.
I rarely recall a time between the ages of 4 and 20 that he did not have a frown on his face.
I didn't know where they were. I didn't much care. I was so pissed. Well, she should have never come in. And for him to do the same, he knew me.
People think people with mental illness are crazy. I don't know that their brain chemistry is off, just like their blood chemistry might be off with diabetes or something like that. So that's the first thing we have to do to promote awareness.
There's great learning that can happen for all of us to see someone in crisis and to figure out how might we respond in that situation.
We don't see the stories of people living healthy lives.
I felt like some of the, the statements that all of you made were things that maybe only a therapist would have heard. And so for us to hear that, I think that's important.
I would like to see more ways that all people could be having this discussion.
Well, I can tell you, when I first went in, I went in with my eyes open and my ears open. But when I left, my heart was open.
If you want to hear real stories and you want to see what mental illness is really like, come and see this show.
It's a really interesting opportunity for people who are familiar with the issue of mental illness to see how others react to it.
I would like to see something like this in the church that I belong to.
Cheryl's dream big constantly asking the question is, where is the line? And can we ever draw the line? And can we draw it in a place where we don't find ourselves on the other side of it?
It made me extremely emotional. I never ever get emotional. They really touched every nerve.
It's a lot easier for someone to take a statistic and say, oh, here are the reasons why we need to fund mental health services, or here are the reasons why we should support community programs. But when they see a live performance by people they know may have potentially suffered from mental illness themselves or indirectly through a family member, it's really hard to turn that into a statistic.
Well, in the immediate future, we have a really exciting goal. We are wanting to get into every Chicago public school. One of the things we're actually doing is creating an original high school production that shares the stories of Chicago public high school students. Our long-term vision is to get into schools across the country, both high schools and colleges, to get into churches across the country, to get into corporations across the country and hospitals across the country. I'd even love to go international, and I'd love to create a show that shares the stories of international experiences. If I could say one thing, it's come see the show, it's join the dialogue, and it's educate your community. You have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to get people aware of this subject, and we can make a difference if we work together doing it.